what you're about to watch is one of the most fun tournament matches that I've played in a while, and it was the semifinals of a Moneyball tournament. It was 5-0 plus open division, whatever you want to call it. I think this matchup was so much fun because we were having a ton of scrappy defensive points. We were having super long extended hands battles, and just in general, everyone has good power, so obviously the shot quality is pretty high. And I got to give kudos to our opponents. I mean, they were balling out. And I do believe that some of this is just due to all four players being former tennis players. And I don't mean that tennis players are just inherently better pickleball players, but I do think that years and years of training in a racket sports background certainly helps us when we transition to pickleball. Mostly with just general hand-eye coordination and fast reflexes. Those are directly correlating to the firefights and surviving in hands battles and counters. Second is just going to be like explosive lateral movement. Being able to cover the court is super important. And I know some people may laugh at that because it's like, oh, pickleball court's so much smaller than a tennis court. But it's still very important to be able to move in a balanced way. Balanced. I struggle with that all the time, but you know what? It's an ongoing work in progress. But third, last but not least, I do think that just from tennis technique, some tennis technique does not transfer well. Like hitting a slice volley is not necessarily ideal. But in terms of swinging volleys and ground strokes, all that stuff transfers over pretty darn well. So hopefully this match is as much fun to watch as it is to play. Because these points were crazy. Hopefully you're already noticing that. But without further ado, let's get into the commentary. And there is the extended firefights I was talking about. I mean, I'll hand it to Beck and Trevor. They protect all their spots pretty darn well. I mean, especially Beck. He is a tall dude, so normally bigger body means bigger target, but he covers everything very well. And just a little bit more about him. Like, he played in the top half of the lineup at University of Kentucky. And UK is like a top D1 tennis program. So obviously he was really, really good at tennis. And apparently he doesn't play all that much pickleball because I think he has a kid at home. So like a relatively young kid. So just super impressed with both of them for sure. Hey, Beck's being a showman, and the tournament was in their hometown, so totally fair. Use the crowd, use whatever you can get. And even though all four of us were tennis players, we're not all just bangers. There's plenty of dinking here, so everyone's waiting for the right opportunity, and it's just good pickle. So good stuff from everyone. Okay, let's take a look at this replay because there's a lot to learn here. Beck moves towards the center and he is slightly off balance. He's not quite set and he pops the ball up. So he recognizes this, and it's one thing to recognize it, and it's another thing to do something about it. But he immediately protects his body, he's very still, and he resets the ball perfectly back into the kitchen and neutralizes the point. After that, Trevor's over here patiently dinking with Wade, but he's not passive about it. He's reaching in, taking time away, hitting these dinks out of the air, and Wade's trying to roll even more and more aggressively until he leaves one just above the net. And as soon as Trevor recognizes that, he takes a full swing and hits the winner. So just really, really good use of the soft game to get to the power, and that earned Trevor and Beck that point. I mean, these are just ridiculous volleys. I mean, the hands are just elite. But one thing here, if you slow this down, sure, it looks like Beck is swinging, but he's taking very, very compact backswings. The follow-through might be big, but the backswing is so, so short. So just want to really emphasize that because that is so important to having good hands. All right, can't let that drive go right between us again. Learning from our mistakes, always crucial. Good stuff. Even there, like, they're making us hit that extra ball. Like, they're getting a lot of balls back, whether it's at their feet or at tough spots to protect. But they're making a pretty decent quality ball back and making us continue to follow up until we break through. So, making your opponent hit an extra ball, you never know. You might get that error, you might not. I mean, this is a good point. Trevor does a great job putting pressure on in transition. Fortunately, I'm able to fend it off, and even that speed up at the end. It went to a tricky spot, but fortunately, I guessed right. I slid left, and it made it a lot easier to kind of put the forehand down. Just a little note on technique. I mean, Wade here just blasts a backhand, and in general, tennis players that convert to pickleball, they're usually pretty good at hitting powerful strokes from outside their body. The counter that they normally have to learn that's not as natural is like the counter that's at their body, but anything that outside their body, they can swing through a forehand, they can swing through a backhand. Normally they can generate pretty good power, so that's kind of what you see with Wade there. Even though he's on the move, he's still just crushing that backhand.
Yeah.
Ooh, a little bit of negative body language from myself. I don't like to see that, but you know, sometimes it happens. Usually you don't want to show that to your opponent, but I think that's somewhat uncharacteristic, so I'm going to give myself a pass there. But at the same time, we're down in the game, so this is definitely not a good time to show negative body language. And this right here is why I brought Wade along, and also why Wade was a Division III All-American and I was not. And also, that's why Wade beat me twice in college, and he was slightly recovering from a broken hand, and I wasn't, and he still got the dub. So, anyway, great crashing from Wade. Just set it up with his own drive and just kept going. So we made the comeback to 9-all, but we gave them game point anyway. But fortunately, Beck misses this, so my backhand just enough to let us survive. And now we gotta see if we can do anything with this to find some momentum.
Good one. Oh, that was a rip. What the hell? Oh, wow. Good play.
Oh wow, I remember this point, but I did not realize that it was to get to 10-all. So good stuff from Wade. Again, that's why I brought this guy. I mean, was that lob a accidental panic lob? Was it purposeful? We'll never know. We'll never know. I mean, talk about earning a side out. Just really, really freaking good hands and too good. So now it's 10-10-1, and we're going to be fighting. And fortunately, Wade has good force, good reach. He's a tall guy, so I leave him hanging here. But you know what? We connect, and I think we play a good point next. If you couldn't hear him, Wade was basically saying that we should be more patient. Like, we don't need to go for the low speed ups because every time they see us speeding up from below the net, they're completely sitting on it. Like, their paddles are up, ready to counter down, because if we're hitting from below the net, we have to hit up, they get to hit down, and that's not a good combo if they're ready for it. So, unfortunately for us, we don't get to speed up anything if we miss balls in transition. So step one, but it's a good thought for when we get to the kitchen play part. You know what? I guess Wade was right. A little bit of patience. Get a very well-timed unforced error, and now we try to get the side out.
Good hands.
These guys are fighters. They're making us hit so many extra balls, but fortunately Wade puts that away. Now we got game point, finally.
They got it.
It's a huge sigh of relief. I mean, we were down pretty big in that game, but fortunately we were able to come back and get to game 2 with a 1-0 lead. I mean, honestly, the plan is pretty much what Wade said. Like, let's just get in, be patient, put pressure when it's the right thing to do, but we really don't need to rush anything because we have to respect how good our opponent's hands are. Their counters are obviously very reliable based on everything you just saw, and that's what we're just trying to react to, is just being disciplined about attacking at the right times and making sure that our percentages are good. That's not a good miss. It doesn't look like a good miss, and it's definitely not one. Even just the intention behind it, I was going for too much. I mean, Trevor's drive was a little bit high, don't get me wrong, but just over swinging for no reason, and it produces an error, so not ideal. Just a reminder, if it looks like your partner might speed up, always be ready for the counter. I know that Wade sometimes flicks it cross court, so the counter is going to naturally follow a little triangle pattern towards me, and right there I'm ready to finish the job there. Just a general rule of thumb, there's certainly times where there are exceptions, but generally you don't want to speed up cross court if you're hitting the ball from the outside of the court. It just gives the opponent like the maximum distance that the ball has to travel, which means they have the maximum amount of time to react. You can only hit this wiffle ball so hard, so fast, which helped Wade just be all over that counter and hit a winner. And that is the perfect example of why you want to make your opponent hit one extra shot. Even though it was high, I was still a little bit off balance and I missed it. Honestly, that reset was just absurd, so he earned that one. Nice little dink error gives us the side out. So now we're at 9-7-1, trying to close out the match here. Look at Wade, listening to his own advice, being patient. Beck speeds up from below the net, and Wade's the one sitting on the counter, gets the pop-up, and finishes the point. So we end up taking the semifinals in a very hard-fought 2-game match. If you want me to post the finals, let me know. If you want another commentary like this, then go check out this video right here. See you in the next one.